A lot of people seem to have had an issue with the Breezies, so I thought I'd just talk about some headcanon-y things to explain them, why they make sense, how they make sense, and why I win the game. So to begin, what's up with the whole damn thing? Breezies are little insect-like fairies that live in another dimension. They came to Equestria through a portal that closes at a certain time. In the limited time they have, they fly across Equestria to collect pollen in the west and then fly back, through Ponyville, to the portal before it closes. Now in Three's a Crowd, Fluttershy gets a letter from the Equestrian Society for the Preservation of Rare Creatures, where they give her the permission to observe the rarest and tiniest, most adorable magical creatures in all of Equestria. So these Breezies are rare in Equestria, and are under watch by a society that's all about the preservation of rare creatures, and Fluttershy went to observe them as they gathered their pollen. This suggests to me that the Breezies have been known to make this trip in the past, which is why Fluttershy knew where to go to find them. And if this trip has been done before, then perhaps it's some sort of Breezy ritual or tradition. Or maybe they do it because they need the pollen to live, but that's kind of weird when you think about it. I mean, sure, pollen is edible, but why would the Breezies need to go all the way through such a treacherous land to collect pollen from a specific place? They have flowers in their side of the portal, and there are flowers in Ponyville, which is presumably closer to home. One explanation for this is that the pollen from Western Equestria is really potent and delicious, and it's worth the trip. But that still doesn't make much sense because many of them might die on their way there, due to how hazardous Equestria seems to be. I like to think that the pollen is not required for their survival, they just want it. Why would they want it? Well, like I said, it could be a ritual or a tradition. Years ago there could have been this epic tale that involved ponies and Breezies somehow, that resulted in the Breezies harvesting pollen from a place in Equestria where a big event happened. Maybe the Breezies were hunted down and killed by ponies and used to make magical artifacts and potions. Maybe a pony fought and died trying to save them, and through his martyrdom an agreement was made and the Breezies were put under protection by the law. And every year Breezies go to his grave in Western Equestria to pay their respects and pollinate the flowers that bloom on his final resting place, taking a little bit back home as a symbol of tradition and remembrance. Or some shit, I don't know, I'm not a storysmith. Anyway, the point is that the pollen may just be sentimental. They won't starve if it goes bad. They have their own flowers. But having sentimental pollen go bad is still not a good thing. Why do they stop off at Fluttershy's cottage? It's been said that the Breezy's magic is activated when they're in a breeze, and that it apparently stops the pollen from going bad. Well, I looked into pollen in the real world for some reference, and it turns out pollen isn't like milk. It doesn't go off that quickly. When properly sealed, it can keep for years. But these pouches are open to the environment, so I'd say it wouldn't keep for that long. And if I'm being generous to the opposing argument, let's say it'll decay in about a week without the Breezy's magic. Which would mean staying at Fluttershy's cottage for the better part of a day would not cause it to all go to waste. Another theory is that the pollen goes bad within seconds of an interruption from the Breezy's magic. But that doesn't make sense because as soon as the Breezies are back in their homeworld, they're not in a breeze anymore, which would mean that the pollen would go bad instantly, and there'd be even less reason to collect it in the first place and bring it back. Even if it is sentimental, you could just pay your respects and then go home. So the Breezies wanting to stay with Fluttershy isn't that crazy of an idea because the pollen probably won't go off in the time they spend there. It is only an afternoon. But then there's another issue. The portal is going to close anyway. There's still a time limit. Why are they being so complacent? Why is Seabreeze the only one who seems the least bit worried that they might be spending a long time in Equestria? Well, one explanation could be that the portal opens kind of frequently, and the only reason it's important that they get there before it closes is because the pollen might actually go bad if they wait for it to open again. But this diminishes the idea that the pollen is sacred in some way. Do they not care for the tradition? Well, maybe they don't. Perhaps the tradition of travelling over the treacherous land of Equestria is actually a rite of passage for young Breezies. They have to go on this epic journey to build character and prove themselves. But what about Seabreeze? He has a kid. He's surely too old to go on a rite of passage, isn't he? Well, there are a few explanations for this. One is that a few adult Breezies go with the younger ones to guide them, and Seabreeze is one of those. Or, and this is what I like to believe, Seabreeze had a kid at a young age. He seems like an angry young man, short temper, probably a rebel type. He'd go around drinking mead and getting shit-faced and chatting up all the girl Breezies. He's a if you know what I mean. But whoops, that luck turned sour. He got one of them pregnant and now he has a baby. And his dad's all like,
I'm very disappointed in you.
And he's like,
fuck you, Dad. I'll show you how it's fucking done. I'll raise this baby way better than you raised me, you washed up old coot.
I can't do that accent. Moving on. But then, oh no, he has to do the ritual pilgrimage with all his classmates. So, Seabreeze, a brand new father, has to leave his wife to go on this pilgrimage with all these other teenage Breezies, and they're all airheaded and don't care about tradition. They're all on their ice phones and Amazonian kettles and doodads and shit. They don't care about the pollen all that much, cause they're darn kids. They don't know what it's like to be an old man. So the first chance they get to sit around in Fluttershy's cottage and party and get drunk, they fucking take it. They won't leave, because fuck going back to their stuffy old parents who keep going on about the sacred pollen. This place is awesome. Fluttershy takes care of us, she's so nice, and it's warm and with free food, it's great. By the way, the reason the teenage Breezies don't care about tradition is because it's been such a long time since the war that they have little understanding of how lucky they are to have such a peaceful life. And Seabreeze is probably the same.
Fuck the pollen.
The only reason he's in a hurry is because he wants to be a good father to his kid like his father never was to him. Let's recap a bit so I can make sense of all this. Teenage Breezies go on a rite of passage across Equestria to pollinate the flowers that grow at the final resting place of a significant sun pony who managed to stop them getting hunted many years ago. It's been such a long time that the Breezies this year don't care so much about the tradition and would rather hang out in Fluttershy's cottage, whereas Seabreeze, an angry youth, just wants to get home to his kid. The pollen going bad won't cause the Breezies to starve, and it'll unlikely go bad anyway in the time that they spend at Fluttershy's cottage, and... what else did I say? I don't know. What other problems were there? I'm sure I'm missing some. Well, I suppose their fragile nature is suspect, seeing as I posited that the Breezies used to live in Equestria. Yes, a leaf can blow them, of course. That is a little strange. But the reason for that is that they've spent so long in the pocket dimension, where everything is safe and dandy, that they've adapted to the easy lifestyle and have become kinda weak. It's like a person that's lived in the city all their lives going out camping. They just can't handle walking long distances or climbing steep hills. They've been in comfort all their life. It's hard work for them. Similarly, it's hard work for these little Breezies who've never been outside the portal to just be in Equestria with all these acorns and bees. It's horrifying. So that's that. Any other complaints? Ah yes, Twilight's spell, and the fact that it's kind of stupid to use. I have to agree with people on this one, for the most part. Turning 6 ponies into Breezies does not seem like it'll be really that useful. There are so many better ways to get them to the portal fast. The most obvious one, teleportation. Twilight can do that. We've seen long-distance teleporting of multiple creatures to a location that wasn't in line of sight in Dragon Quest when they all run away, so that's possible. Number 2, have Rainbow Dash fly them there, put them in a pouch and zoom off, and Fluttershy can give directions because she probably knows where the portal is because she's studied them. Number 3, just fucking take the train. Okay, I'm out of alternatives, but the point still stands. Twilight doesn't need to make the main 6 into Breezies. It doesn't help, it doesn't make any sense. Why? Also, in regards to Twilight getting the spell out of nowhere, I've heard the term Deus Ex Machina, and I call bullshit on that. You really expect Twilight, Princess Twilight Sparkle, the smart purple thing, to not know a million spells, one of which will probably solve the problem at hand? She reads constantly. Every day. Reading. If you read an entire book every day, how much would you know? A lot. And she's reads more than one book a day, and a lot of them are spell books. She knows a lot of spells that we haven't seen her use. It's, you know, it's not pulling it out of her ass. She's learning the whole time. Besides, she's done this kind of thing before. She turned this mice in The Best Night Ever into horses. Sure, they look ugly, but they're fucking horses. She didn't even need a reference that time. In fact, she said she learned the spell from reading a book in the castle library of the two sisters. That was probably just a more refined version of that exact spell where she changed the mice into the horses, but with the addition of referencing the creature that you're turning the other creature into, it made the transformation permanent until dispelled by the caster and have all the features correct, you know, they look like Breezies. It's all good. But even with all those words I just said, it doesn't change the fact that Twilight used a stupid spell to solve the problem. She still didn't need to turn them into Breezies. My theory, though, is that she wanted an excuse to use the spell. She had the spell, she'd learned it, and she thought, wow, maybe if I just tell these people I just want to turn ponies into Breezies, because that would be cool, you know? She could have teleported them, but she probably knew that they had enough time, so she thought, just use that. You notice she didn't explain what she was about to do, she just said, trust me? It's because she knew they'd probably tell her it was a stupid idea. But after they were transformed, they were so exhilarated by the idea that they just rolled with it, and she got what she wanted. So the Breezies go home and they see their parents or significant others, I assume some of them would be dating, and they never tell their parents that they thought of staying in Fluttershy's cottage because that would make them mad, and yeah, they're happily ever after. Everything's solved, everything's fixed, everything's great, everything's pretty good, everything's bad, everything's not bad, everything's done. If you think if I missed something, or if I didn't explain it or you didn't understand, leave a comment and I'll tell you to go leave another comment. Leave a comment about something that I didn't address. If I did address it, I won't respond. And if I didn't address it, I will respond telling you what I thought. And yeah. Yeah. Look at me as a Breezy. Aren't I cool? I already featured this artwork, but I don't care. Look at it. Look at my legs. Look at how cute that is. Yeah. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for your viewing pleasure, this thing. Yep. Boom. I'm done. I've been done for a long time.